I'm really not that soccer parent.
Finish! There you go, baby!
Go, Flynn!
Nice! Let's go!
Good job, Flynn!
Nice, Flynn!
Oh. Nice effort. Try.
Way to take it all the way up, bud. You never stop.
All right, so let's actually start here where the big stuff happened. This place right here, this park, is actually across the street from where my wife and I had our first place together. And this is actually the park where I proposed to my wife, like right over here in this region. And this park was also important because we had a dog. We got this dog together before we were engaged, before we were married, obviously. And this was a place that we spent a lot of time playing with the dog, making sure that she was good and tired, she was entertained, throwing the ball until we were just sick of throwing the ball. But she was never sick of catching the ball, or at least retrieving the ball. Okay, so let's go to the dog perspective so that I can make my point here. And really the point is it's about saying who you're not going to be, or who you are now and you can't imagine becoming. So as an example, when you think about couple or pre-commitment to anything, really, not even just a life partner, but even pre-commitment anything, and owning a dog or having a dog in your life or some animal. And I even remember saying personally myself, I can't imagine being like those dog owners. They take that dog everywhere and they buy the best of everything, and they totally sacrifice their lives, their days, their nights, their weekends for this animal. And isn't it just a dog? And again, like I said, I love all animals. I'm just trying to bring some perspective here. So you say I can't imagine ever doing that. Yeah, sure, I'll have a dog, but I won't let it rule my life. So then my wife and I, we get the dog and we allow it to, Maisie, to kind of rule our lives. She was at the center of our universe as a couple. It's our first big responsibility together, this life in our lives, taking care of her, taking her everywhere we went. And I even took her to work and buying her the best of everything and adjusting our schedules around what she needed and where she needed to be. And if we had to go somewhere, we would take her with us, or we might even sacrifice certain activities because she wasn't taken care of, or we couldn't manage to get in a situation where we could take her with us, or things like that. So we were actually even making sacrifice for the dog. And here I became that dog owner. So doing the same thing, overextending our finances and our time commitments. And we even made comments. Yes, we even made comments. And for those of you who don't have kids, I remember even saying, I'm guilty of saying this is like having a kid. Yes, you can love your animal like a child. I'm not saying that. And you'd have parents that would certainly roll their eyes at you, and for good reason, because no, having a dog is not like having a human being and raising a human being. But not saying that the responsibility isn't a great commitment, but it is. It's just that they're not the same. Because I remember having our first baby and having Flynn and having kids, you get to a point where you're like, wait a minute, did we feed the dog? And you're like, we have a dog? Like I said, no disrespect to our animals that we've had in our lives, but it's just those things change, those things shift. And I remember that, when we had our first kid, and of course we had 3 kids, 3 and under, and not planned in that way, it just, that's the way it worked. And I remember saying to myself and ourselves, oh, I can't imagine being those parents. And then you start thinking, okay, I'm not going to be that parent. I'm going to be totally different. And you are different, but then you do start becoming those parents in different ways, through different means, different paths. And let me explain this. So as an example, I remember having the boys when they were little and they were babies, and we had kids, or we had friends that had kids that were much older, and it's John and Susan, they had, let's say, kids that were much older, and at that point their part of their lives was club sports or dance or some activity that pretty much took up their entire evenings, their weekends, and overextended them financially. And so you think to yourself oh, I can't imagine doing that. We'll just deal with what's happening locally, and we'll put them in rec leagues, and we'll do this if they really like it, but I can't imagine that they're going to love it that much. But then they do. And then you start becoming those parents, and you're like, oh my gosh, so we've signed them up for these sports and they're getting better. And now what's next? And instead of being those soccer parents, like I went in head first and I actually became a soccer coach. So I coached them all at various times in their lives. Here I've said, like, I can't imagine being that father or that parent. I can't imagine overcommitting ourselves and having our nights and weekends like totally consumed and our finances like totally just, overextended. And boys, I know you watch the vlog, so let me just say that we love you. We're going to keep doing this. We love that you love soccer, and we know that it's great for you, and it's something that you want to do. And so we're going to do everything that we can so that you can continue to do that. Anyway, so just to say, like, it puts things in perspective when you say to yourself, like, oh, I'm not going to be like that person, or I'm not going to do that. And yes, like, you don't have to be exactly someone or do the exact things that other people do. But you do fit into some sort of mold that you start creating and start building out. And part of it is as part of the collective mold, because again, here I am at soccer practice with many other parents right now, waiting for our kids to finish up and get a download of how practice was. But that's just kind of how it's been. And so it has consumed us, and that's where we are. And it'll be on to the next thing where I'll probably say, like, I can't imagine ever doing that. And then we end up doing it. The point that I want to make here is that I'm not a soccer parent. I refuse to be.